going to talk about our student learning outcomes. The first one I want to talk about is organizing information to show understanding and helping solve problems. I have an example, Unit 1, where we were asked to use the draw a diagram method, and here is a basic idea of what I did for this problem. I drew kind of what represented a building with a rectangle, and I kind of used these waves to indicate where I was moving. But I didn't do a very good job at communicating my thought process. I could have used different colors to indicate what step connected to which step. That way students could see the information I was taking from the problem and how I was applying it to this diagram. And then Unit 4, I have the example of the pursuit of peanuts, where we work backwards, but I showed the conversions and how I got each of the numbers. So I kind of did the math in blue, and then I also made notes in green of where I got the numbers from, where, like, my thought process. So I used arrows from one step to the next, showing where I use that number next, and kind of the information that was given, so you could see what I was doing and why I was doing what I was doing. The next student learning outcome that I want to talk about is formulating and implementing a plan for problem solving. When we first started in Math 319, I kind of just did what the book told us. So it told us to draw a diagram. I drew a diagram. It told me to eliminate possibilities. I eliminated possibilities. There wasn't much more to it, not very much thought put into why I was using this approach, or why this approach would work, because the book told us to use it, you knew it would work. But as we moved along and got through the units, I kind of took different approaches to the problem. For example, with the Unit 4 problem, the pursuit of peanuts, it was a working backwards problem, but I used the diagram to help me get through the problem, instead of just simply working backwards and just using that strategy alone. Also, I've done, like in my last reflection, I talked about the King's Trial, where I used 2 different strategies just to kind of see, well, you could use this strategy, but you could also use this strategy, which I think is important, especially when we're going to be working with students who may understand the concept more, but they should understand that you can apply different problem-solving strategies to different problems. Even though maybe one might be clear for them, they could also use a different one. The next student learning outcome I want to talk about is communicating solutions to problems. As I've moved through the units, when I first began the units, I would kind of just show my work, not really explain it, but then at the end I'd just explain how I got to the solution I got to, like in a paragraph afterwards, which wasn't a very effective way to do it, because you would have to look at the problem and then refer to the paragraph, look back at the problem, see what I was doing. That's why I kind of started using this method, where I kind of showed you how I was getting to the solution along the way. That way you weren't getting lost, and I tried to make an emphasis on the solution I found by either circling it or putting it in a square, or kind of highlighting it, showing you this is the solution I got to, and this is how I got to it. I also use different methods for communicating solutions to problems. Like, I found that with Unit 4, when we did the dog, the goose, and the corn, when I did it, I used a video, and that was an effective way to show my solution versus just taking pictures of each of the steps I did, because the video ran smoothly and I could talk you through it, instead of taking a picture of step 1, explaining it in a paragraph, taking a picture of step 2, explaining it in a paragraph. The video was a more effective way to communicate solutions to problems, and I tried to push myself to do more videos as I moved through the units. Like with Unit 4, I believe I did 2 videos, and I have not yet seen any of my peers posted videos, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then my last student learning outcome I want to talk about is working collaboratively and critiquing each other's work. Through each of the units, I've tried to provide some criticism for my peers, but also tell them what they're doing well. So, for example, in this past unit, there was problem set A number 3, cookies, and I responded to Casey telling her how I liked how she utilized the working backwards strategy. But there was a part that was kind of fuzzy. I think it was part of a conversion, and she didn't write it out. She just kind of wrote the number and then another number and the number she got, but she didn't write the conversion that she used to get that number. So I pointed that out, and I told her, well, this is an area you could work on making sure you can walk through the steps and you don't lose your students as you're moving through the steps, because you didn't include that conversion. Some students might not see, well, this is what you did, and I know you did it, but you might need to explain this so people can follow along. Also, I always post in the open discussion boards, and I try to answer questions if there are questions, and I usually post questions in an attempt to work collaboratively with people, because I feel like if I'm struggling, a lot of other people are struggling, and we can kind of bounce ideas off of each other and work together, even though it's an online environment and it's hard to discuss. I like the open discussion boards because it helps us communicate and collaborate, because doing the peer responses helps with that, because you can see maybe something you missed. You can help people realize, oh, this is how you get to the solution, or maybe you could do this next time. But the open discussion board kind of help students get all on the same page, because sometimes it's hard to communicate online, or we might have questions about something. So I think that really helps with working collaboratively and critiquing others. And that's my Unit 4 reflection.